59.
Yeah, but it takes 2 minutes for the screen to get up too.
Sorry. Stand to be corrected.
Oh, by the way, David, real quick, I loved your service on Sunday. In fact, I'm gonna watch it again. Me too. Because I couldn't take notes.
What service?
Sunday,
No, what service on Sunday?
his service.
Oh. Sunday service.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I welcome you to our Wednesday morning class, coming to you again from HeartLight Spiritual Center. I want to welcome those that are in the seats in person and you that are joining us online, wherever you are. Welcome to today's class. Also, we are diving deep into a subject. Again, I want to remind you that I found that I had started this book back in the late 80s. I don't know how it survived all the moves I've made, but somehow it's followed me to this point of rediscovering it. And I really felt to dive into it and to maybe see if I can make it into a teaching. And thank you for being here to allow me to do that. So I want to say to you that this is exploratory. We're exploring some knowledge, some truths, and it's not a thing that it is the gospel. We are just checking out some other ways of looking at things. This is called thought patterns, the original thought patterns of creation, based upon the so-called 7 days of creation of the book of Genesis, which was seen as a literal day, because if you're a literalist, a day's a day. And a day is a 24-hour day, but that is not so in the teachings of Scripture and other texts. A day can mean an entire age. When we say the day of something, the day of industry, the day of whatever, we're talking about a span of time. So it's ridiculous to think that everything was created in actually 6 24-hour days, which is what most people would believe who are Bible people. So we're tackling this very controversial idea that actually each day represents, could be absolutely, in our time, millions of years, of evolution could be going on. And each day has a morning and an evening. The morning is divine idea. Evening is the manifestation of the idea. So, just to back up, not too much because I want to go forward, but we talked about one of the greatest questions that seems to be in the human collective soul is who am I, of course, why am I here, but mostly why did the universe happen and how did it really begin? Scientists think that they have the answer in something called the Big Bang. So we're going to look at the Big Bang a little differently than from just a scientific point of view, but we're going to look at the Big Bang at a point in a consciousness that consciousness became aware of itself. When that consciousness, which was unconscious of itself, became conscious of itself and had its own realization of itself, it literally released all the energy that was needed to create multiple universes. All the stars, all the galaxies, and everything that we have just begun to discover. My goodness, from the time that the Bible was written, that believed there was only 7 planets in the universe. That's what they believed, there was only 7. To finding out, that there was more, and then we found out there's more than just one galaxy, but there's hundreds of millions of galaxies. So it goes on as we have technology and science to go further out into the world of materialism and matter. But really our interest is, why did we land on a little planet in the boondocks of a galaxy? Earth is not the biggest, nor the smallest, but it is strategically placed in the galaxy for life to be on. It's not to say that we're not discovering other planets that we're finding possible life and different forms on, but the Earth is the Earth in which we come on to learn about ourselves, to learn who we are, to learn what our identity truly is and our purpose for life to be. So it all begins in the term, in the beginning. In the beginning, Genesis 1:1. Now, what we learned last week is the word beginning. It should not be translated in the beginning. But in the Hebrew, it is a plural term that means beginnings or a beginning. So the story of Genesis is a beginning of something, but it's not the beginning. Much existed long before the story in Genesis starts. So that's an improper translation, in a beginning. And when I wrote this in the 80s, it must have came through spirit, but I said and described it this way: once upon a formlessness, the invisible stared into the depths of its own being and was overwhelmed by the love that was there. And that's when it woke up to itself, and consciousness became consciousness of itself. It looked into the depths of its own potential and was so overwhelmed of the possibilities of this potential that it literally released the energy that we have for the material world today, that forms into stars, planets, galaxies, and so on and so forth. 1 Timothy 1:17 says, "Now to the King of eternity, incorruptible, immortal, and invisible, the only God." The only real God is invisible God, until it found a way to have something to contain it so that it could be contained within an expression of itself. So perhaps we could offer still another option, and that is, again, the Big Bang, of the release of unlimited energy from this great moment in time, we would say, of the release of the energy of that which it is. So what does this bring us to know? God thinks. God thinks. God. When I say God, I'm talking not the God of this world. I'm talking about the God that is spirit. Not the God of spirit, but the God is spirit. Spirit is invisible. There's nothing of spirit here that you could see with your eyes today unless it manifested somehow in a dream or a vision. And some of you have those experiences in which you have seen things that is beyond the sensory perception of things like that. But mostly we walk within the confinements of our own sensory perception of things. That means the eye sees what it sees, and that's what is real. The ears hear what it hears, and that's what is real, and so on and so forth. So when we say that we're kind of moving from religiosity into spirituality, that means that we're moving beyond the boundaries of our sensory perception, and we're becoming more open to receive manifestations of the invisible spirit world to be made visible. It can be in a dream, as I said. It can be in just a vision of some kind, or it can be a moment of gnosis in which you receive direct knowledge about something from spirit without filters. Most of what people have received, even from the spirit world, has ended up interpreted through filters. That's why we have translations of translations of translations. That's why there's so many Bible translations. That's why there's translations out there of the same subject, but different translations. Because until you get direct knowledge, you will always have a rather perception of something that isn't the something you're perceiving. That makes sense to you? And that's the difference in what we call human knowledge and gnosis knowledge. Gnosis knowledge would be, my example would be, I could do an intellectual study of the word love, which there are 6 different Greek words translated love in the New Testament. There's eros, there's philia, there's agape. All these are different levels of love, because you love your dog different, you loved your mother, you love your companion more than you. It's all a different kind of love in the human realm. But this pure love is something that we can learn about. So we can sound intellectually even smart on the subject because we've looked up all these words in the Greek and we know what they mean, and we could even do a talk on it, maybe have a workshop on it, but that doesn't mean we've experienced the thing we're talking about. So gnosis is experiencing something, not just learning about something, but it is the something the mind can learn about, experiencing itself in us and as us. So I don't want to stay too far with that. Where is the beginning? I looked this up to make sure because it's been a long time ago. But where the book of Genesis starts in the beginning by the literalist Christian world has been based upon a Bishop Ussher. A Bishop Ussher who had a revelation that the beginning of creation began on October 23rd, 4004 BC. Now, if you add 4,000 years BC to 2,000 years AD, you have 6,000 years. And that's where they get the 6,000 years of creation. And often they will misstate seven days of creation. No, he rested on the 7th. So 6 is the number for creation in that sense. So
If you go by the Jewish calendar, it's 4,875 years
it is
today.
today.
So
Well, there's all kinds of timelines. Even our timeline is off. Pope Gregory changed ours to the Gregorian calendar a long time ago. So we don't even know what the old song. Nobody knows what time it is. I forgot what group made that, but that was a popular song in the 60s. Nobody knows what time it is, so we don't know what time it is. Other than if I look at that clock tells me what time it is, and maybe it's not that at all. But the fact that time is so relative that we have decided time is this hand on this number and this hand on that number, and that gives us time. Einstein came along and said, well, that's all an illusion. Time is no more anyway. You're just kind of perceiving yourself moving through space. How long of an experience is it? And that's why I tell you, if everybody started at point A with their home and was coming to point B, HeartLight, all of you probably had a different experience of time. Some of you got here real quick, no issues. Some of you took more time, thought you'd not get here. Maybe there was even blockages like a wreck on the road somewhere that got you stuck somewhere. I mean, that's a great story to show how it works and the fact of how we're moving through space and how we're experiencing it gives us time, or time-space continuum, it is basically called. So, the first thing that is given to us as a first thought pattern is, let there be light. Let there be lights in the firmament, and I wanted to talk about that a little bit. First of all, what is a firmament? If there's going to be lights in the firmament. So I looked up the Greek word for firmament, and it is rakia. And what is important is what that means. It means a vast space expanse, a boundary between the physical and the spiritual realm, the act of creating a barrier between spirit heaven and earth manifestation, of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let this be signs for the seasons and for the days and for the years. So firmament means that something happened between creation and creation becoming its own form of itself. That did not happen. Heaven has never been made form or materialized. Only in exceptional moments of gnosis. People who've had direct experiences, and usually those are the ones that you can follow back to be founders of certain schools of thought that has survived maybe thousands of years. That'd be people like Muhammad, Buddha, Jesus, and others who have really had a direct experience and a little bit of spirit made it down into the earth and formed itself in their consciousness as a teaching. And that teaching resonates and still does to millions of people who are at a frequency to teach those spirits. So you got lots of people who are attracted to Buddhism. Why? Because their frequency matched the teaching of Buddha. You have a lot of people that have gone toward the Muslim teaching. The Quran registers with them because that frequency of the teachings of Muhammad connected to them. This is why it's good that we don't judge any of these levels of different religions or teachings, because they all apparently are serving a purpose with a lot of people who are at that level of consciousness to receive it. And just because you're not or I'm not doesn't mean that it's got to be wrong now. It means that it could be wrong for me at this time, or not in line with me at this time, but it is with other people. Some people are very connected to Brigham Young's teaching and the angel Moriah, whatever the name of the angel was that brought the tablets. You got people that they think that is their truth whatsoever. And then you have people, of course, that want to connect to Jesus' teachings, which unfortunately has been so tampered with and so changed that we really are just learning kind of what his teachings really was. And that's why it's important not to throw it all out, because if you've rejected, you think Jesus' teaching, that doesn't mean you've rejected the true teachings. It means you've rejected man's made perception of his teachings. And you kind of have to do that. Here's the principle. You have to lose something to find it. It says that in Matthew. He who loses his soul shall find his soul. I had to lose God to find God in 1989. I literally lost God. This God up here. I considered myself, oh my goodness, I'm going to be a non-believer. I've been preaching all these years, and I've preached myself right into not believing in God. It was devastating to me because I was in the barrier of the firmament that had separated me from my heavenly self from my earthly self. Catholics call that purgatory. But there is a place between heaven and earth. So they're not totally wrong about some of that stuff. It's just they made it into a doctrine and changed it. But a lot of this stuff holds a seed of truth where a lot of people get caught between heaven and earth. I'm going to throw this in, but there's a lot of souls who leave the body at a not an aligned time that, how do I say this without getting into it? I believe that people who truly incarnate should incarnate in resonance with their time to come. I don't think you just make a bunch of bodies and pull a bunch of souls into it. I've never believed that. I think that's what's wrong with us. I think we're right now dealing with that challenge of too many bodies and some souls in those bodies that are not highly developed souls because they didn't complete their preparation to incarnate. So they're angry, they're mad, and you know them, you've seen them, and you've looked at them and said, how can a human being treat another human being like that?
Right.
I know you all done that. How can a human being treat people like that? Well, they can't because they're off alignment. They should not have come in at the time that they came in. Now, when a soul is ready to come in, then Spirit says, okay, I'm going to let you to choose two bodies. And the bodies is going to make you a container so that you can incarnate into it. So that's when you picked out your parents. You picked out your parents. And they have the ability to have 23 chromosomes and 23 chromosomes to come together and to form a body. Now, get this. This is important. What should have happened is your true spiritual created self should become the form. But it didn't. Therefore, forms had to be made for it to come into that weren't created. It's going to get heavy. I'm going to work right now, so take a breath. And I've been on this forever with people trying to find people who's at a level to understand this very important thing, that bodies were not created as from spirit, they're created from bodies. And even for Scripture, that which is of the flesh is of the flesh, and that which is of the Spirit is of the Spirit. That's just the way it is right now. It's just the way it is right now. So that meant for Spirit to incarnate into, it had to have a body that was not created but was formed from other physical bodies to incarnate into. So the whole, I do talk sometimes, I did not recently I did one on divine yearning, if you remember that message, that there is a yearning within the human soul, within the human psyche of itself, and that yearning is for what's been created in its whole and perfect self to be formed as a whole and perfect self. You with me? It's been created love, it wants to be formed as love. It's been created whole, it wants to be formed as whole. So you and I sit here every Sunday and say, by faith and Spirit, I am whole. But this isn't whole. You can't say your body is whole. I know all of you is going to doctors. I know all of you is on medication. I know you're exercising. I know all the stuff you're trying to do to keep this body going because it's an imperfect body from creation. And that's why the whole message is so important of understanding the resurrection of the body. That's not a Christian dogma or doctrine. Here we are getting ready for Easter, and everybody's going to do the old Easter Christian thing about bodies coming out of cemeteries somewhere and flying off into the sky and whatever, and not understanding that it's talking about bringing your unformed, imperfect body and raising the vibration and frequency to match your created spiritual body.
And be resurrected.
That's right. So resurrection is truly a raising of consciousness because the body follows consciousness. See, your body is neutral. That's why it's called soma in the Greek. Soma, S-O-M-A, as in soma energetics. That's why I named it that, because I would include the body as an energy system. Soma is a neutral Greek word ending that is neutral. Remember, we've talked about this. We don't have this in English, but we have it in other languages that have a masculine, feminine, and neutral ending. You that have learned even Spanish will learn that every Spanish word has a neutral, feminine, and masculine word ending. Well, Greek does too. Soma is neutral. The word for spirit is pneuma, masculine word ending. Soul, suke, feminine. So you got a masculine, feminine, and neutral. That means what goes on between the soul and the spirit, the body's going to follow. So here's the thing, David. You can buy all of the best supplements on the planet and go to every kind of new gadget and new technology that is out there, which I will probably continue to do, because there's a scripture that says, occupy till he comes. That's a scripture. Occupy till the Christ comes. Well, I'm occupying with all the supplements and all of the massages and all of the colonics and all of the everything that I do and spend money on, because I'm trying. And I know better because I know the way to get the body where it needs to be. I've got to get the soul and the spirit to work together and create a new manifestation of the two, which is a redeemed body. I want to read something to you. I guess in Christendom there's nobody greater than the Apostle Paul. Definitely he's considered the apostles of the apostles. Of the apostles. And I'm going to read something to you. Hold on. I want you to hear this. And he is the author of Christianity. Jesus did not start Christianity. Paul started Christianity. He's the first writer of the Bible. It is not Matthew. It is not Luke. It is none of the four Gospels, although it's in your Bible that way. But if you look at them, those are written a lot later than Paul. Paul is the first writer that's in the New Testament. Bear with me here. Paul had such a struggle with his body. I mean, if you read his stuff, it's constantly a struggle with his physical body. So I want to read something to you. I've got a Bible here I do not know, and it's really weird the way it is written. I can't read my own handwriting. That's sad.
That's me too sometimes.
It does happen. So here's Paul. So then the law is holy, and the commandment is holy, righteous and good. Did that which was good, then became death to me. That's what I'm saying. You can be as good as you can be. You can help everybody. You can support people. You can do, and all this is good stuff. I'm not putting it down, but it's not going to earn you a way into heaven. I mean, places like the Catholic Church does really good work. They do tremendous work. Hospitals are because of Catholicism. And there's a lot of people that are doing good work. But you know, Jesus said, do not call me good. There's none good but my Father which is in heaven. What he was saying is the good you want to call me is the opposite of not good. And I'm the totality of all that good is. And I won't get into that. I could do a whole teaching on good here, what it means in that way. So he says, I want to do good. That's my heart. My intent is to do good. I found this law at work. When I want to do good, evil is right there with me. For in my inner being, I delight in God's law, but I see another law at work in my members of my body. Now, members is an interesting word there.
I heard it.
But I've researched it, and it's referring to his genital area and his drives of sexual situations. I've got a whole book that his greatest thorn in the flesh was being gay and fighting that in his body, the desire to give in to that. I don't know if that's true, but it was an interesting story. I want to do good. Evil is therefore in my inner being. I delight in God's law, but I see another law at work in my members and my body, waging war against the law of my mind and making me a prisoner of the law of sin that worketh in my members. What wretched man am I? Here is the most ultimate so-called spiritual apostle saying about his body, "Oh, wretched man I am, who will rescue me from this body of death?" You know your body's going to die because you got a body of death. And the reason you have a body that's going to die because you got a body that was born. And what is born dies. But what's created that has no birth or death. Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
So if you're truly a spiritual being, you've never had a birth and no death. That's why people believe in an afterlife, because they believe in something of themselves that in no way is going to die and is never born. So then I myself in my mind am a slave, but in the sinful nature, a slave to the law of sin. And quickly tell me what sin is in our teachings here. That is true. That is the Greek word, but also, let's look at from Course of Miracles.
Separation from God.
A belief in separation. Thank you, Terry. That is what the Course tells us that sin is. It is a belief that I am separate from God. Well, you know your body's separate from the true Creator God. Common sense has told me for a long time that which I serve and plug into would not and cannot create anything less than what it is. If it does create something lesser, that's not love, that's pity. If it creates something greater possible, it would not be pity, it would be admiration. So love has to create that which is equal to itself. Now I want you to get this. This is an important thing about relationships. And why marriages don't work and relationships don't work is because we do not find love between another person that is equal to ourselves. And a lot of that came out of Christian teaching that the woman is lesser than the man is the head, and all of that, women submit, all of that kind of teaching that has gone on is why we have the gender war, so to speak, because of that teaching. And I don't care if you was raised in Christian or not, ladies, you've all been affected by that teaching that's gone on for centuries and centuries about the man is the head of the woman and the woman should submit. I don't care if you've never darkened a Christian church. You've been treated such. So, Paul is crying out, I want to do good. I do everything I can to be the best that I can. But when I do, there is that something there that says, I'm separate from my Creator. And, oh, such a wretched body am I. Who shall deliver me from this body of death? Now, I want to say this. I was talking to somebody recently who was telling me about some interesting things that are going on. And you might relate to this. Some of you that are having some unusual dreams, some of you that are having some weird sleep patterns, waking up at 2, 3, 4 o'clock, maybe not going back. All kinds of those kind of things that are happening to you. You're hearing things, you're seeing things, you're having this experience, these experiences that are kind of beyond your norm of how you live every day. Well, let me tell you why, and why it's going to happen more and more and more. So you might as well get ready for it if you're on the path. And the path I'm talking about is the path of raising your vibration. If you keep doing this, you're going to reach a vibration that's going to start matching some data that's trying to come in from 5D that's going to start showing up as you lay on your bed at night. In dreams and in vision, God's going to start showing you things, and you're going to have some weird stuff happen. You're going to wonder, am I going crazy here? Am I going nuts? But actually what's happening is the dimensions beyond 3, 4D is so getting close. It's in our field. For the first time, it has hit the field. And when it hits the field of your electromagnetic body, it goes, psst. It's like a frequency it touches the chemical. Whoa. See where we go with this. This is why the pineal gland is waking up. This is why pineal work is so important right now, because it is the antenna in the human brain that is first able to take the frequency from 5D data, photon information, and bring it in to a way that we can chemically get it as a 3D human being. Well, that's what happens when you have an aha moment. What do you think an aha moment is? It is literally the Logos spirit of higher dimension that is being activated into your magnetic field of your body. Now, the closer it gets, the more the body is reacting. And because your body is nothing but a bunch of 3D patterns and mispatternings that you have given power to form you into the person you are. And there's physically nobody like you. I don't care how you think you're like your brother, your sister, or anybody else. There's a unique turn somewhere with you about how you think, how you see things, and whatever is going on with you. I'm trying to get through this and not get trapped into something. So the Essenes says when this happens and spirit enters into the human brain, remember the human brain is chemical. It's neuronal brain cell firings. Every thought that you think as a human being is a chemical thought. But when you get a spiritual thought that makes it into your human thought, you have the aha moment. Okay? And that's happened to some people. As I said, there were those who, Buddha, Muhammad, and I could name so many of them, but apparently they did have some connection with the heaven level, and heaven made it into their human level, and they called it many times the visit of angels. The Essene says why that we call them angels is because when divine thought electrically comes into the magnetic field of the brain and releases light, it looks like angel wings. It goes tsh, tsh, And in a moment, you are changed. For we shall not all sleep. So I'm feeling the Spirit is telling me, if you're not experiencing it, get ready, because you're getting ready to experience more and more of an ability to bring in higher energetic vibrating data into your third dimension experience. And every time you do that, it brings with it the true Creator's DNA pattern, which begins to change the patterns that you inherited from your 3D ancestral story. I'm trying my best to find that. This is why some of us, I won't speak for everybody, sometimes I talk about light brown people. Like I'm not one. I do. I think sometimes I say things and I go, and my ego mind says, but you're one. You're one of them. But I'm speaking out here as an observer. I'm kind of out of my body. You know, to be what? Absent from the body is present. So I often get out of my body, and when I do, then I have this experience that we call channeling. And that's the kind of teachers, ministers, whatever you want to call them, that you want to be under. You only want to be under people who has an ability to channel information. I'm sorry, but you're wasting your time if everything is scripted and everything is set up and everything's within the confinement of any religious school thought. I don't know how to say that, but that's why I try to have such a variety of different sources that I can come from, whether it's Kabbalah, Course of Miracles, or whatever. I try to make sure it's not just one thing that I'm promoting, right? But I'm trying to use the language of all of them. Or I'm not trying to, my spirit is trying to use the language of all of them, because oh my goodness, spirit, ego wants you to think that we're not Buddhists, so therefore we're separate from the Buddhists. We're not Islam, so therefore we're separate from that. Some of you don't think you're Christian anymore, so you're separate from that. And the real truth is, all of it's in us. In fact, the whole universe is in you. From that little electron spinning around, that nucleus is no different than a planet going around the sun. We're all the microcosm, the macrocosm of the microcosm. So anyway, that was just a message that came to me, that if you're not experiencing some out-of-the-body experiences, if you're not experiencing some kind of paranormal experience, if you stay on this path, you will. And I don't want you to be concerned about that. Relax into it. Don't push the river. Flow with it. Let it take you where it wants to take you. So let me say this again. I'm probably not going to get to where I want to get today. So creation happened in the invisible to us. It's invisible to us. That means invisible. It's invisible to us. Just because we don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I mean, my goodness, your dog hears better than you. Huh? I mean, your dog can hear things and you're going, I don't hear a thing, but that doesn't mean it's not there. I can't hear what's going on out there right now, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So creation happened in what is invisible to us, that we're referring to as the spiritual creation, the spirit world. Creation was accomplished. I want that to be clear. It's not an ongoing thing. It doesn't need evolution. It doesn't need to evolve. It is what it is. And you're saying that every time you say, I am that I am, you are at the point of consciousness that is the point of a point that carries the potential of everything.
Yes.
And it was at that point that became aware of itself that exploded in the Big Bang of enough energy to create millions and billions of galaxies and stars and everything else. And yet, we only understand about 10% of the material universe. Dark matter. There's no dark matter. It's just darkened to us until we see it and observe it.
It's energy.
Huh? Recently, we've had the technology to go to the beginning of our universe that did not exist until there was technology to take us and observe it. And when we observe it, then it materialized. Very quantum. So you're going to have to understand some simple. If you can get a book on quantum physics for dummies, get one. If there's such a thing, we should check it out and see, because there are some principles there that you're going to find it difficult to adjust yourself to the new world that is breaking through. You're going to have to live differently. You're going to eat differently. You're going to sleep differently. You're going to think differently. Everything, relationships are going to be different. Everything is going to be a different pattern than the pattern that you're used to, that people think is the ultimate pattern. And then when that pattern happens and breaks down or whatever happens, then we look for those who can fix it. Now, there's nothing wrong with those who are called at that level to fix things. I mean, if you can use your Reiki to fix my neck, so be it. Or if you can use your energy work to fix my knee, so be it. And there's not a one of us here that would say no to that. If somebody had the gift to bring a fifth dimensional healing, which is only a body healing. Fourth dimensional healing means the healing of the human mind, and the body heals. 5D is new data that has never been before coming in and not fixing what's broken, but transforming energy into new forms. You see the three things there? For eye hath not seen nor ear heard the things that are prepared for them. Because there's a lot still invisible to us that is now finding vibrations in the visible to match it so it can come in and start forming itself as manifestations. I am predicting that soon, even in the mess that we think we see out here, in the midst of this is going to come the open heavens of manifestation into the earth.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming. And the heavens was open over Yeshua. And the Spirit came without measure. And then he started his ministry under the open heavens. Yes.
There is a book called Quantum Physics Workbook for Dummies.
I already sent it to you.
Workbook.
I already sent it to you.
Oh, you already sent it to me. Okay. Good. All right. That's good to know. If anybody's interested in that, I would highly suggest that you check into that, because some of this stuff is really not complicated at the level it is, but it's complicated to us at the level we are. Does that make sense to you? So a lot of the things I'm teaching is so deep right now to some of you maybe that you might think, okay, I can't get this, whatever. You'll get it if you'll raise your vibration to match the teaching. You will get it very simply. Because truth should be simple, not complicated. The ego makes it complicated for you. So why? You will shut down and say, I don't get that. I don't think that's important to me. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't even think I'll come next Wednesday. So if you got that little voice going on in your head, you're on the right track, because your ego's upset. It's upset in its own demise of the shift of power that is going on in that way. So I'm going to stay with this. I'm going to stay with this because I'm going to take it slow. Creation was all accomplished in the realm of spirit that we're going to call heaven. The heavenly spirit. Everything is done. Even Yeshua echoed it when he said, it is finished. So it's okay to celebrate creation because I'm here to tell you it was successful. Creation created itself whole. Creation created itself as unlimited agape love. It created itself as light as no other light that's ever been. It created itself as its own expression of itself that equaled itself. That's done. But unfortunately, what we're reading, and God said, let there be a firmament, in the Greek, rakia, meaning a vast boundary between physical and spiritual realm. Act of creating a barrier between what's in me and my body. Now, there's been nothing better that happened, I believe, more in the 80s, and I'm going to contribute people, what's her name? Shirley MacLaine. I was flying every weekend during those times, and I noticed maybe I'd see that book, somebody reading it. The next week, 2 people would be reading it. By the end of the month, 5 or 6 people was reading it. And people was all reading about meditation and going within. And it was making a big comeback from the 60s. It kind of got messed up in the 60s. I mean, it was a good thing that happened. There was definitely some energy released. But it didn't come so much from the spirit, even though people had experiences that were phenomenal on psychedelic things and whatever. I'm not putting it down. And people still have that with ayahuasca and mushrooms and all that kind of thing. I mean, there's a place of study for those things that are very healing for people who are depressed, anxiety, and whatever. But again, people, I'm saying I'm not just looking for something to fix what's broken. I'm here to manifest what my part of me that's invisible in heaven, and let it be done in my earth as it is in heaven. When that happens, the barrier is gone between the inner and the outer. And that what Yeshua says in the lost book of Thomas, when the inner becomes the outer, and the outer becomes the inner, and up becomes down, and down becomes in, and the male becomes female, and the female becomes male, then you shall behold the kingdom of heaven on the earth. That means no barriers. Because the body is the only barrier. And I'm talking about formed bodies, not created bodies. When you get a created body, there'll be no barrier. There'll be no racism, genderism, or any ism that you can name once you have what the Bible calls a redeemed body. Now, I've been waiting for this for a long time. Is that right, Jackie? Some of us, very early, got this idea of the immortality of the physical body. And we thought it was going to work. I thought it was going to work because it just says in the Bible. All I had to say was magical verses in the Bible, and I was going to be immortal. And I was in a whole group of people called immortalists for a long, long time. And they had the scriptures. They had it to back up that he that eats the bread which is coming down from heaven shall not die, and death is the last enemy to be put under foot. I mean, there's scriptures for anything you want to do in here. So we thought that was it. You know, all we had to do is just tape it on our refrigerator and look at it every day, and it would happen. And it did not. And that was 40 years ago, 40, 50 years ago, that message was really big and going around the country. And I was kind of in the middle of it. And so as I've gotten older.
And wiser.
Thank you. I needed that. But as I was getting older, I thought time's running out, and I thought, oh my goodness, here I am, da, 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 da. But wiser is right, I hope anyway, that I'm as wise as my serpent, pardon me. Anyway, so all of that is created. I believe with all my heart you have a pattern. I'm going to really go out here. I believe that you got a spiritual pattern for a liver. I believe you have a spiritual pattern for a pancreas. I believe you have a spiritual pattern we know for the heart. Now the heart we kind of got. You know, we've had no trouble with spiritualizing the heart thing. Heart math and heart breathing and heart this and heart that and the pericardium and all of those kind of things. That's a lot of energy teachings that are out there. But I believe there is a blueprint, a divine DNA that holds a blueprint for in my case, as a too diabetic, I would love to see my spiritual pancreas and liver show up and swallow up my mortal pancreas and liver. That makes this issue of sugar issues. So just as your parents carried that story in them, do you understand that? They gave you DNA so you could have all these organs in your body. Your DNA that you inherited is what has built your body.
I thought it was dirt.
Huh? Thought what?
Thought it was dirt.
Oh, we're going to talk about that. Oh, we're getting there. We're going to talk about it. I like that. We're getting there. We're going to talk about dirt. Yeah. Do you have any trouble? Do you understand? Your body is pretty much what your family's body was. There's some differences uniquely, but a lot of you have inherited myisms in your DNA, and that means potentials of stuff in your story. Like now, you know, we thought that everything was physical from the DNA. Blue eyes, you get blue eyes, brown eyes, you get brown eyes. But now we found tendencies toward alcoholism, addictions, and all of that also was inherited in the myisms of our DNA through our family line. That's why you see things being repeated in families, because the sins of the father have visited on 4 generations and on. So a lot of the stuff you're dealing with is not yours, it's theirs. And I've done that.
Epigenetics.
But that's what I've dealt with the tuning forks work. All that was to deal with that very issue right there of dealing with your ancestral story. We know, and I've taught you, that also we have within us the incorruptible seed of our true Father, our source. Oh, my time's up. Incorruptible seed, and I read you out of an old Amplified one time, and there's no other translation like it, but it said in 1 John 4:2 or something like that, something about we cannot sin for we are begotten of God, for we have God's sperm within us. Now they changed that to seed in most translations, but this old translation was God's sperm. Now sperm is sperma, which is logos or word. When God's sperma or word penetrates your human ancestry, then you inherit your divine ancestry as a true expression of a son and daughter of God. Not a false God, but the real God, the most high God, possessor of heaven and earth, of the Melchizedek order of an endless life. And I didn't get it all where I wanted to go today, but anyway. Wow. I know this is a lot. This is a retelling of the story. That's what I feel my mission is right now, is to tell it again, but tell it differently from a different level of consciousness. Sometimes we sing a little song here, the cells of my body speaks forth a new life. Every atom radiates God's glorious light. Rejoice, O my earth, at the sound of my voice. I'm a new creation. I've never walked before. Can I sing it again? Yeah. The cells, we need to do this on Sunday. The cells of my body speaks forth a new life. Every atom radiates God's glorious light. Rejoice, O earth, with the sound of my voice. I'm a new creation. I've never walked before. My pattern is Yeshua of 2,000 years ago, who dared to say it's in me, but go ahead and touch me because it is as me. Did you get it? It was not just in his human body, for his human body was well resurrected before the whole tomb story and the Easter story. He had already been raised into his Christ consciousness self, into his heavens of his own being, and he was bringing in a word from the Father of spirits, the Father of lights was coming in. That's his teachings that they edited out and watered down and took out the 18 years, is because they didn't want us to have the teachings that came directly from heaven and was available to us on earth. But I'm here to tell you it's going to happen anyway. I don't care what their plan was. I don't care what it is. They cannot contain us any longer. This is our time. This is our time to be the city set upon a hill that cannot be hid.
I have to make this plug. The violet flame is here to help us to make this change, to purify and make it to the fifth dimension.
We're clearing out is what we're doing. The old, because you can't put this new wine into the old wine sacks. Dee?
I'll try to be as succinct as I can. First of all, thank you so much for everything that you are teaching now and have been teaching, and it just seems like things are moving in my life right along with it, and it's supporting me and pushing me up. So I want to share something really quickly. So a lot of people who are here today were here on Sunday afternoon, and we talked about that diffusion, and I specifically said I'm facilitating only because that's who I am in this space, but part of this group, and I know there were some big changes. So two things. One, I woke up Monday morning thinking about someone that I had judged as causing a lot of chaos over the weekend. And as soon as I thought her name, what came out of me was, God bless you, God bless you, God bless you. And I was kind of stunned. And Spirit reminded me that decades ago, Reverend Marion Starnes told me when I asked her about my brother who was missing and had been on the streets for a couple of years. The Spirit is calling out for help. Just say God bless you every time you think of him. That's all you do is say God bless you. And within a few months, my brother showed up in too long a story to tell you all, but it was amazing. And he said the folks in the satellites told him that I was in the Bay Area. But then I said that to Shirley, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think this is a shift that I'm experiencing here yesterday. And she told me to please share that there was a huge shift in her family on the issue that had been ongoing on Sunday. There was this huge shift. And so I just want to put it out there that if anybody else notices anything that is changing or has changed, please share it so that we can make that a part of our story and own it all. Because we do have all this support. in terms of moving into
Thank you,
fifth
Sue.
dimension, into
Yes.
being more in heaven now than we have been in other
Absolutely.
places.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for the text you sent me too. Appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
Wow. Just take a minute, can we? Just take a minute. I know we're a little over time, but I like to end this with just a moment of allowing you to take the teachings. Again, I'm doing the best I can to find words. And I'm using a three-dimensional language with higher five-dimensional frequencies. But as Jesus said to them, my words are in the parable. Don't hear what I'm saying, David. Hear what Spirit is saying through me in the words for communication. For the Chorus says our third dimensional body is for communication until real communication is. Someday we won't need the language of men, and that's why the light languages come in, the language of the angels are coming in from 5D. And it's waking up parts of our brain that is beyond any language you ever learned. If you knew every language on the planet, spirit language is beyond it. First of all, we give honor to the Holy Spirit, who is the whole part of our own self that has been held in the heavens of our being until the restitution of all things spoken by the mouths of the prophets. Thank you, God, for being so brilliant that you held back that part of ourself until now. And now, as we've opened the windows of heaven within ourselves, the Spirit is coming out of heaven into the mundane, into our earthiness, into our everyday life, through dreams, visions, epiphanies, aha moments. However it chooses to show up, so we receive it today. And now we lay these teachings upon the altar of our higher self, and let us mentally detached from right now, from this, and not overthink it, but make space to receive it from your own self as self-knowledge. It is not my knowledge you want. It is your knowledge you want. For your knowledge carries your own personal I am code, signature of your soul, your Akashic record. Let's take 2, 3 nice deep breaths as we breathe in the new and breathe out the new to the world. We breathe in the new, we exhale the new into the world collective consciousness. And the third time we breathe in the new and we extend it into the world of collective consciousness. My prayer today is, oh, heal my mind, oh Father God, of heaven and of lights, of any erroneous thinking that I have validated in any way. And we ask this in the loving and powerful name of El Elyon, the Most High, living creator of all reality. And so it is. All right, if you have anything you want to share with finance, we appreciate it.
Hey, how are you? I came late. I have a question for everybody. Does anybody know what to do with an acute torticollis?
What?
It is so painful. It's a muscle spasm.